And good morning. Welcome back to another Monday. I hope your Thanksgiving holiday was great or your weekend, wherever you are in the world. And with me today, I have. Good morning, Wisp.
Hey.
So, how much do you love The Legend of Zelda?
Yeah.
Just yeah?
Yeah.
So, fans have fully reversed engineered The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. They've made a one-to-one copy of the classic title using C programming language. Because the game itself does not use C programming. It uses Nintendo's own programming language for the Nintendo 64.
Didn't know they had that.
Mm-hmm. And the reason for doing this is so that the game has been compiled and turned into human readable C code. So that way the game itself is not lost as technology progresses. They're also working on Majora's Mask, which is about 25% complete, and the Minish Cap, which is about 48% complete. So
I would expect Nintendo to not be too happy about that, though.
Probably, but if anything, they could use it for learning instead of selling the information and all that. So it would fall under fair use for educational purposes.
That's in the realm that Nintendo still tries to get people on their services. So when the code of the game is out for free, that is defeating the purpose in a way. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, learning, yeah, sure, no problem. But rights issues. And you can say, while Nintendo is still actually using that, there's a point to it. Contrary to Disney, who are not using any of, or a lot of the trademarks or characters that they have. And then you have a lot of abandonware, the Nintendo titles. So while I loved it, I do like this. But I can see Nintendo being not too happy because these games are not abandonware. Contrary to, for example, machines, which where the whole stuff was released. Sacrifice, which is abandonware, there's nobody working on it anymore, and now people are working on it, also trying to reverse engineer it and to make it run on modern systems in a stable fashion. Or, as we've recently went over, Battle Realms, which is not you could say was abandonware, but now definitely isn't anymore, as the original developer is working to polish it again. So this is it's a difficult issue. I'm sorry if I just sully your surprise.
No.
I know too much.
I do know.
I know too much to just enjoy shit. I hate it. Stay dumb so you can keep enjoying shit. Be a sheep. Be a sheep. It's at least you can smile.
I do know how Nintendo gets with their products, and it's upsetting, but I also understand it at the same time. But they should also try porting a lot of their old games onto the consoles. That way you don't have to pay extra just to go out and get the old consoles and have it run properly.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why they are releasing these mini consoles.
Yeah, they're releasing the mini consoles, and they have the Nintendo Switch has the NES, SNES, and now 64 games on there, but it's not the entire catalog yet.
Yeah, and I can imagine that part of that is compatibility issues. I don't know how bugged they are. I've honestly never tried the online service from Nintendo. I have some extra cash for that if ever. But I have had no need for it so far. And I can't play Smash for reasons that sound absolutely stupid to everyone. I can't play one of my most favorite games. It pisses me off.
I haven't played Smash in months, mainly because I just haven't been up to playing Smash.
Yeah, Zelda. Talk about Zelda.
With this, they're also going to be working on the rest of the series. They're just starting with the popular titles first and then moving on. And they're going to be doing the rest of the Ocarina of Time games that have been ported to every other console. So they've got a big task ahead of them, though we don't know whenever they're going to get to the excuse me, the original two Zelda games for the NES. So that's going to be interesting to see, because I know the original NES code is ancient code that was stopped pretty much in the 90s.
Written in COBOL. Probably not, but From how the game functions, you could imagine now.
But I have a deep love for Legend of Zelda, and it's one of the first series that I picked up as a kid on the SNES, along with the uh, Super Mario World game, and that was something that my brother and I would play. Like, oh, you died, hand over the controller. Oh, you died, hand over the controller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How far apart are you in
My
years?
brother and I,
Yeah.
just under 3 years apart,
Oh, that's good. That's good. Didn't have
and
much time with my brother. We're 7 years apart.
then my brother and my sister are just under 3 years apart as well.
Yeah, that's okay. That's an okay difference. My brother and I, we kind of lack the sibling in between, you could say. So if you have kids, have them relatively close to each other, not too far apart, because it's just like having two single children. It's horrible.
Yeah. Um, one of my friends, him and his brother are 10 months apart.
Whoa,
Yeah.
someone was working hard there.
And then their sister are separated by them by about 5 years.
Huh. That's a bit much. I'd say 5 years is the limit of what might work. Say
Yeah.
4 is the comfortable upper limit, but more, can't imagine it. 7 is definitely too much.
Oh, absolutely. That's like my cousin, him and his siblings are separated by about 10, no, 15 years almost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. In the 16th century, they could be parent and child.
Oh no.
I could be your father.
But it wasn't for lack of trying to have more kids. It's just things didn't work out the way that they had planned.
Yeah, that happens. But I remember because we're 7 years apart, and I played Link's Awakening in, must have been second grade, at least second or third grade, and that means my brother was 14 or 15 at the time, and he couldn't figure out how to kill the mini boss of the Moblin boss, and kept dying to it. And it took a while for me to understand what the counter was on the save file. For Zelda games, you have a death counter. I didn't know what the counter meant. I thought having more on that counter is good, and my counter never really raised. Like, it was maybe by the end of the game, when I first played through the whole game, it was at like 22 or something. My brother hadn't finished the game, and it was at 300 something.
Oh no.
And only looking back now, I realize my brother, being 7 years older than me, wasn't good at games. He had good taste in games, though. He had really good taste in games. That is definitely true. Or maybe adventure games weren't his thing. I don't know. I don't know how he performed in shooters, but he definitely had good taste. He got me to buy Deus Ex for him. And think about that. He's 7 years older than me. I wasn't 18 yet when the game came out. And he was sick of being asked for his ID. And he originally wanted to buy Deus Ex, the original Deus Ex, which came with a nice keychain that I still have. Haha. Wonderful box, by the way. It's such a pity that people today don't get boxes anymore. Yeah, because he just came back from what do you call this in English when you're on military duty in another country?
Tour.
Yeah, so he was just on a tour in Macedonia. Just came back. I think it was Macedonia. And Macedonia or Kosovo? I don't remember. And he was in a big electronics store in a big city, and they didn't want to give him the game. He didn't have his ID with him, but he had his military his orders still that told him, here, you were there and you did this and you have to do blah 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 blah. Not anything disclosed, but something that said, this is a soldier who's just been somewhere, who's just been released from duty because he's been through hell. And I didn't want to give him the game because he didn't have his national ID with him to verify that he was over 18. He was so pissed. He even let his beard grow out. Nope, they didn't care. And so he asked me if I could get the game. I don't know how far away from 18 I was at the time, but I was still under 18. I went through a local electronics store where I had worked before. Some, what do you say, practice work from a school project where for 2 weeks you have to work in some place that you look up, that you find. And I've worked there for 2 weeks. In the second week, I got into the workshop to repair computers. The other guy, they tried to just put in the corner and make him not do anything anymore because he destroyed stuff. But he tried to wash the keyboards of the public terminal, yes, with a sponge and the cleaning solution. So it was half a meter of foam on that keyboard. The keyboard, of course, was useless afterwards. It was very dirty, but keyboards are dirty. But yeah, after that, they just tried to put him in a corner and say, "Don't do anything.
Don't touch the technology. You're just gonna break it."
Yeah, I mean, he was a nice dude, but damn. And after I think the first day I was there, I was just told, sort through the God, my English sucks today. The storeroom, so that everything's in order, and it was a mess. And I just, hey, you just said an artist that I didn't know I was autistic at the time, to a storeroom to sort things. I love sorting things. I was done in a day, and she came when I told her. I think before that, and I told the main worker there, the owner of this franchise shop, yeah, I'm done. She looked at me quizzically and checked back, and then didn't know what to tell me. It was great. Hire artists to run your storerooms. However, if you put the artist in total charge of the storeroom, the artist might be pissed if you touch anything, because you destroy the order. No, but the second week I got into the PC workshop because they kind of noticed that I seem to know my stuff around stuff, and it was fun. I several times I cut my hands on the bloody casings because back in the day they weren't. I like a lot of English vocabulary. When you ungrate the edges of the metal parts of the casing. Nowadays, I'm sorry, I don't know the English word. When you don't do that, they're super sharp and you cut yourself easily. Nowadays, all PC casings have this done by default. but that wasn't a normal thing back then. And since computers weigh a lot, you have to lay it down. If you slip, your hand's gonna be a bloody mess. That was fun. They're very fine cuts, so they don't hurt that much. They just bleed a lot. Where was I? Oh, right, yeah. Later on, so they knew how old I was. They knew I wasn't 18. And yeah, so then that one day I went there and checked it. Yeah, do you have Deus Ex? Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it there behind you. Okay. Okay, here.
Just all right. I know you're not 18, but you want this game? Here you go.
I might have been 16. I might. Not sure. I might have been 16. Yeah, just got it. And people always thought me older than I was.
People always thought me younger than I am.
Oh, that happened after I hit 20.
I still like if I didn't have my facial hair, I would be considered like maybe 18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got stuck in my early 20s for about 10 years, which is great. Pity it's completely wasted.
The funny part is, whenever I was in the military, like whenever I first joined, whenever I was about 20, within the first year of me being in, I went to a store in uniform because it was on the way home, and I went to go buy alcohol, and they're like, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 21," and they're like, "Can I see your ID?" I'm like, "Okay." I
So
gave it
show
to
me your
them.
dog tags.
Yeah, like I showed them the ID. They're like, "Okay." I honestly thought you were like 16, dressed up in cosplay or something.
Oh yeah, that means my brother was in his mid-20s. And I didn't want to sell him an 18 plus game.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Would you rate Deus Ex as 18 plus? It was I don't know how much was censored in the German version anyway.
But if any, I know y'all use Peggy, don't y'all?
No, that's a new thing. We have our so we also use Peggy now as it is instantly printed on the things, but we also have our own system, and it is sometimes better, sometimes worse. Some games it rates because the sensitivities of our sensors are different. It's not. This is important with all this the censorship bullshit and these idiots saying, "Oh, we're trying to appeal to Western sensitivities." Like, no, you're not. Our Western standards. No, you don't. You try to appeal to our Western sensors. The Western people, for example, with lots of Japanese games and shows, we love them the way they are. That's why we pirate them, for fuck's sake. The censors have a moral agenda, a moral and political agenda. And they rip this shit. That is why, also in Germany, people who bought games later pirated the very games they bought to have the uncensored versions because the censored ones were stupid, silly, or even unplayable. Because sometimes it wasn't just graphic changes where all human enemies are changed to robots. Like
Yeah.
I don't remember which one. It's one of these standard warfare shooters.
I mean,
All
that's
enemies are robots now in I don't know, World War II or something.
that's kind of like Samurai Jack, because it was airing on Cartoon Network. Tartakovsky had to make all the enemies robots and oil splatter instead of them being flesh and bone, and it'd be blood splatter. So that
Yeah, I
was a
mean
way.
at least At least it fit with the story somewhat.
Yeah, that was his way of getting around the censors
Yeah,
at the
but
time.
but do you know German Command and Conquer?
I don't know German Command and Conquer. I know Command and Conquer.
Okay, so the soldiers are dying in a pile of blood. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me see if I can on the fly without tossing the cocoa into my keyboard. A clip of Command and Conquer in German. This is also complete to a channel. Conquer.
But
Okay, here's found a let's play. Let me check. Okay, there's a guy talking.
I can just mute it.
Wait. Oh, the sound is important later in the game.
It is?
Let's see. Oh, he's not playing this is not the proper German version. the soldiers die in a pile of blood. That is not with human screams. That's not the German version. You fraud. Probably played the remastered one.
Probably.
Okay, let's see if this is one. This is also not German. What the fuck? Also, this is also the remastered one. You can't find. Okay. It gets a bit hard to find the original one, because it would have been much better to just show you. What they did is all soldiers are cyborgs. There are no humans, including in Red Alert. You know, the Allied versus Soviets thing in the
Red Alert
in the 50s, 60s. They're all robots, and when they die, they don't scream. Instead, that is generals. I don't know about generals. When they die, they don't scream. They make failing electronic sounds like.
Oh no!
And the blood is not red; it's black because it's oil. So stupid.
Oh. Let's see. Some of the changes for generals is probably going to be the same because the patriotism.
Is this some intro thing? I don't know, because I don't know. I never played generals. But yeah,
they made them cyborgs and generals as well.
Yes. Well, they have to run with it. They even refer to it as the cyborg wars in the videos in Command and Conquer, the normal Command and Conquer.
Oh man. Oh, the texture.
They changed the icons.
So bad.
Imagine having this technology, but still using all the boring stuff. This was so bad.
Just, you can still see parts of the ear in the changes.
Yeah, because it's bad, it's horrible, and it's stupid, and it's useless.
China?
Yes, in general, you are China.
Nationalism?
I don't know. I never played generals. I found it weird.
Everybody's a cyborg.
Everybody's a
cyborg.
Yes, everybody's a cyborg.
This is so weird.
And that is German censorship. It's really not much different from what Soviets do.
No.
Or
Jeez.
Puritan Christians when they cover up all the girls, like the socialists are doing now.
They removed all the people in the streets as well.
Yes. Oh, didn't they remove some text on the signs?
Yeah. They removed text on the signs and removed the people.
Yeah. Because Germany isn't that different from a socialist fascist country. Never was. It's just a paint job. We only have a paint job of liberty and freedom.
Oh, that would get you in trouble today.
Mm-hmm.
they turned the suicide bomber
Into a car. Yes.
Oh my god. Why?
Because terrorists can afford turning people into cyborgs. Farming cyborgs.
This is so dumb.
Yes. You know, cyborgs in burqas.
What? Oh my god.
I'm sure knives work wonderful against cyborgs.
Probably. They probably died just as easy. So this isn't the first Command and Conquer, but jeez.
German censorship is purely insane. All because Germany tries to tell its people, don't ever use violence. Never stand up, only against Nazis. But even then don't, because it's bad. You might turn against the government otherwise. And the other socialists that are totally the good socialists, even though they destroyed the country for 40 years. Well, it was only half the country, so it's okay.
Altered names, description, locations, factions, units, and structures. Modified in-game sequences. Added cyborg voices, etc.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes, and Command and Conquer is just one of many, many examples. For example, in Carmageddon, where you can also run over civilians, they just changed all of those to aliens, not with the big head and the large eyes.
Really?
Yes.
That's just
And,
weird to me.
and to make the blood green. You have any idea how weird this is in a first-person shooter? When everyone is of this guerrilla army is suddenly robots? And Castle Wolfenstein was banned because it looks like it's glorifying Nazis.
What?
I know. Sane people don't see that because you're killing Nazis all the time. And I don't know how retarded of a Nazi you have to be to love playing Castle Wolfenstein when you are shooting Nazis and at the end Hitler as the final boss. That makes no sense to me. Except the only thing I can imagine is that you get off to looking at swastikas hanging everywhere. But then I don't understand. Someone has to explain this to me. Why a Nazi would love to play Castle Wolfenstein? Because other than what a level looks like. But yes, for our senses. So technically, we are allowed to display Nazi paraphernalia for purposes of education and satire. Where would you rank Castle Wolfenstein?
I would rank Castle Wolfenstein is leaning more to satire, but it does take itself somewhat seriously.
Oh,
And
really? Cyborg Hitler in a mecha suit?
yeah, it's all part of the lore. But like I said, it leans
Well, it take
heavily into
yes, it
satire.
takes itself you could say the character, the world in itself takes itself seriously. Yes, it's not making fourth wall jokes all the time. Yes, that was an interesting Freudian. Um, but looking in from the outside, the world is silly.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
And
obvious. It's obvious satire, and we are fighting the Nazis in those things. We're killing Hitler. How is that glorification of the Nazis? Everyone with a sane mind comes to that conclusion, but not the German censors. They see swastika. Oh, it's bad. It's glorifying Nazis because there's a swastika.
tell tell
There's
that
Hitler in the
to
game, so it's glorifying this other.
tell that to the bar over in Japan that opened up recently, where all of the hosts are dressed in Wehrmacht uniforms, and the popular ones are dressed in SS uniforms.
Of course, Japan would do that, but then Japan doesn't have our stupid bullshit German guild thing where we are unable, where we are not even allowed to properly address World War II and what happened, but are only allowed to hate everyone involved, regardless of how that happened to be. Because as people tend to forget, most armies back in the day, including the Wehrmacht, was a conscription army. You were conscripted, regardless of what you thought of the regime. And if you don't do as you're told, as you're ordered, then you're shot. Simply, a bit simplified speaking. The thing is, with regimes like the Nazis as well as the communists, if you don't toe the line, it's not only you that gets shot; it's your family. There were lots of cases of young, strong, tall, blonde, good-looking boys with blue eyes that were approached by the Stasi. The Stasi, Gestapo, SS, whatever. Sorry, my God, it's morning, and honestly, all this shit is the same. That's why I say all socialism is the same. All socialism leads to fascism. Anyway, you're that kind of boy in the 30s, in the 40s, and then an SS officer comes to visit and says, "Hey, you look like SS material." And it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter whether you nowadays think in your hubris that you would be the rebel, that you would oppose the regime. Yeah, first, if you're lucky, they just put you down. However, if you refuse to join the SS, that SS officer will not point the gun at you. He will point the gun at your mother, at your father, at your brother, at your sister, at your dear grandmother who makes cookies for you. And then ask again, are you going to join the SS?
If I have a choice, no.
Well, you have a choice. It's like the same choice Charlemagne put the heathens to, the same choice that Islamists put the non-believers to.
Ah, you join or die.
Yeah, and it's more along the lines of Charlemagne, where, well, either your whole village converts or you're all beheaded. There are a lot of you can see this in the heath in the north of Germany, or well, parts of North and Central Europe. There are a lot of some villages have little churches that were built back in the day. A long, 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 long time ago. Those were the villages that converted. And there are a lot of villages that have no churches or have them added very recently. Those villages didn't convert. An empty village doesn't need a church. Everyone's dead. So that's your choice. And then the Islamists say the same thing with, there is no compulsion in Islam. Yes, and there is no compulsion in joining DSS. It's your decision whether your family dies. The gun isn't pointed at you because they know. They knew. Well, the individual may resist, but the individual tends to have a conscience. And a man will do a lot more and a lot of bad things if you hold his family hostage. And that is basically what they did. So the choice is, do you join or do I kill your mother?
Yeah,
It's a bit tougher than the question of, do you join or do I kill you?
Yeah, it is, but...
And that's the point. And whether the indoctrination starts before that or after that doesn't matter. This is how they operated. And this is something that we need to think and talk about, because this, and we are not, because this is the same thing. I believe this is in part because the coming tyranny is going to operate in the exact same way. It operates on shame and taking your family hostage, your loved ones, and using them against you in some fashion, like this. That's not turning them against you, that's just using their lives to make you commit atrocities. And I drifted off the topic quite a lot. World War II horror, yeah.
One led into the other.
Yeah. All right, the German guilt thing. Yeah, that's something the Americans gave us, by the way. Thank you for that. Would have been better, and probably more bold, to give us your constitution. And maybe we might be a free country and not this absolute mess ruled by socialists and crypto-socialists that pose as conservatives. It's disgusting. Been disgusting ever since.
Yeah, I don't think there are true conservatives these days.
Anywhere.
Yeah. And
I'm not even a conservative, but I understand that we need that kind of force in society. Otherwise, we just go straight over the cliff. They are there to slow down change, to filter change. Otherwise, you just do random shit. It's like random mutations. Random mutations turn into cancer. Controlled mutations is what we call evolution. And they are there to control the mutations.
Yeah. And I've gotten called a conservative, and I'm not really a conservative. I prefer more traditional things, but I'm not against a lot of things either. Now, but for some reason, if you're, fairly libertarian and prefer freedom over tyranny, you're conservative.
You're called right-wing now.
Yeah.
Oh, freedom's become a right-wing thing?
Yep.
How liberal are you again? You call yourself liberal? But you're against freedom? What they actually are is they're against human rights. And socialism has always been against human rights. They're incompatible with human rights. And if you had ever read the Human Rights Charter as it is, you would understand that instantly. Hey, here's an idea. Pull up the UN Human Rights Charter. I wanted to make a video on this anyway, but which I will probably never do. Oh dear. Yeah, in Germany, games are mainly censored and banned even because violence. While in the US, it seems to be sex
This one?
mainly. Okay, this looks ugly, but we can go over this. Declaration of Human Rights. Blah blah blah. So, Article 1.
Alright. All humans are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood.
How does that sound?
Uh, the first part sounds like the opening to our Declaration of Independence.
Kind of. It's a statement. It's not a law or anything. It's just a statement. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and equal in rights. And this is how you have equality. We have equality of rights. And you can say equality of dignity. The dignity part is always a bit difficult because people interpret that in different ways. The German constitution, well, we still have it, puts an emphasis on human dignity before everything else, which already technically puts socialism out of the box and makes it unconstitutional. Because human dignity in German law is defined as your human dignity is violated. So it says the German constitution's first line says human dignity is inviolable, which means you can't do it. It's not even outlawed to violate human dignity. It says it is impossible to do it. So if you try to, you are a monster. And the definition of human dignity in German law is that you are not to be treated as an individual and not to be treated as a statistic or a simple attribute of your character, of your being. Like, you are not to be treated solely as based on your race, sex, political orientation, being part of a union, for example, all of these things. What religion you are, etc. Because that's what the Nazis did. They determined the worth of a person and of a life on these types of attributes, immutable characteristics and choices like religion. And said, you go to the gas chamber and then the oven. That's what they did. You are the subhuman, and the other one is the good human. That is in violation of human dignity. What the socialists are doing now with their social justice, as they call it, this perversion of justice, as well as the intersectionality, which they incorporated into that, which is just that on steroids, is they define your value as a human being by your race, your sex, your sexual orientation, your fetishes, what part of politics you are, your skin color, that they somehow define as being completely different from your race at the same time, and so on, and so on, and so on. Socialism, social justice, is in violation of the German constitution and the Declaration of Human Rights, already at that point. But let's go further, because this is a bit of a more the human dignity thing is a bit more difficult for people to understand. Barely anyone knows what it means. So let's go on.
Article 2. Everyone is entitled to all rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of the political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non self governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty. So basically, it doesn't matter who you are. you still
Exactly.
get everything. You get all the freedoms
Exactly.
and rights.
It's supposed to so this covers jurisdiction essentially, and that means every human being. Article 3.
Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Self-defense. Hey.
Yay! And also agency.
You know what that
It
means?
means that you have the liberty and to choose yourself what endangers you and what doesn't. So if you don't want to take the strange, untested, controversial substance that is ordained on you, it is a violation of human rights. It is a violation of human rights to force you to.
You know what that means? All the states here in the US that have the right to retreat and don't have the castle doctrine are unconstitutional.
Again, that don't have it.
The ones that have right to retreat are unconstitutional. The ones that don't have the one so if you don't have castle doctrine, you have right to retreat, and right to retreat as
No, no,
pertaining
no, no.
to
You mean duty to retreat. It's the difference between a right to retreat, that means I'm allowed to retreat, and a duty to retreat. And
oh
the way
yes.
these states function is that you are forced to run away
Yeah.
instead of defend yourself. It's like telling, oh, if he bullies you, just go away. If he keeps punching you, just go away. Yeah, but he broke my legs. It just go away.
Yeah. So duty to retreat is unconstitutional, even in the human rights. Even with human
Yeah, yeah.
rights.
However, I think the United States never signed the UN Rights Charter, if I am informed correctly at this point. Never did. Well, it's
Well,
correct me if I'm wrong on this.
the human
However,
rights.
the Human Rights Charter doesn't care whether you signed it or not.
Yeah, and not only that, it's a lot of it that I'm seeing is based upon our own constitution in the U.S.
Yes. Article 4.
No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms. Tell that to the Middle East, please.
Yeah, tell that to Libya, which a certain Miss Clinton destroyed, and now there's slave trade again. Thank you. And we have
Tell
so
that to
much human
China.
traffic. We have since 2015, since Angela Merkel, the fucking crypto socialist, decided to let everyone into the country, regardless of anything. We have human trafficking and sex slave rings from outside the country here. Thank you. It's hard to do anything against that. Next article.
Article 5. No one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Yeah, that one came about right after World War II.
What do you think about this cancel and shame culture that the socialists are practicing? Does that sound
It's degrading
fitting?
treatment and punishment.
Mm-hmm. So, human rights violation, socialists. A soft one, if you will. Article 6.
Everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law.
Mm-hmm.
So, which that one's written weird.
You could say it's you are not denied. You're not denied. You are not to be denied being treated as a human being
Under the law.
under the law. I need to sneeze. Moment. As I've heard, so what socialist regimes like to do is to declare you subhuman in or some other word that is equivalent to that, and thereby deny you being heard by the law. And as I've just heard, I haven't checked yet, a certain Mr. Chauvin is being denied a public defender.
I haven't heard that one. So
Yeah, by the
that's
judge.
that sounds like a corrupt judge.
That sounds very unconstitutional.
Yes, it is.
What times we live in. All
Because,
right.
I was about to say, under the
Yeah.
Constitution, you are given the right to a lawyer from the
Mm-hmm.
state.
Mm-hmm.
And without that, the trial should be considered a mistrial.
Mm-hmm.
Article 7. All are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration against any incitement to such discrimination. So basically, the law cannot discriminate against you based upon any of your intrinsic
Immutable
values.
characteristics. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That fairly simple, but I've seen it done.
Yeah. There's also, by the way, an article, a soft article against socialism.
There is.
Article 8.
Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted by him by the Constitution or by law. So that one is saying what? That you just.
It's a bit weirdly worded. Let me look at my German version.
Everyone has the right to an
Because I'm
effective
not awake
remedy
enough.
by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted by the Constitution or by law. I think that means that.
Oh yeah. It's basically your the German word here that's used is Rechtsbehelf. You could say that could be your public defendant, for example.
Okay,
so you are entitled to have the full scope of help in order to make sure that you are properly heard by the law.
Okay, so basically, you had the right to a trial.
Yeah. And the effective remedy also means that you are entitled to a lawyer provided to you, for example.
Okay, yeah. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. So you had to really, really mess up for those things to happen.
Like Germany, like Australia, but hell, Germany has been arbitrarily arresting people since well, definitely since the beer thing started. The beer disease.
The beer disease?
The beer disease. Did you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know about the beer disease.
Let
But
me
that's also like the UK arbitrarily arresting people for what they say online.
Yes, that is arbitrary. Dub, 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 dub. Where is your DM? Yeah. No, that's just a V. Full V.
Oh, that bear disease. Yeah. Yeah. I was confused for a second. Yeah, that people are being arbitrarily arrested everywhere because of that.
Mm-hmm. Most of the measures are human rights violations, and they're not justified, not with the numbers and the knowledge we have. The actual science, by the way, not the propaganda.
Yeah. Article 10. Everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent or impartial tribunal in the determination of his rights and obligations and of any crime charges against him.
That there was an and. That's important. In legal text, it's important whether there's an and on or it's like programming. But yeah,
I said both ands.
No. You said independent or impartial. It's independent and impartial. If you're unsure, rewatch the recording.
Yeah, I will.
These things happen. Like you hear what you wanted to say, although you said something else. It happens. It's
Okay.
a really strange phenomenon.
So basically, you have a jury of your peers.
You could say so. But yeah, it means that there are no secret trials.
No, which is we have one going on right now.
Yeah, technically, all your federal trials are like that at this point.
Yeah, the Ghislaine Maxwell trial is being very secretive.
Yeah, that should not be the case, especially with something of this level of renown or infamy, rather. But it is secret not because of her, because of all the other people involved.
Not just that, yeah, because of that, and the judge of the trial said that he doesn't want it going public because it is, um, what's the wording that he used? So depraved that it would make anyone disgusted.
We should be. And this because this is not just a United States issue. This is a worldwide issue. The sex trafficking ring of children, of this woman and her cronies and all these rich fucks, is a global problem. I think this is on the level of the Nuremberg trials, to be honest, in regards to the level of crimes against humanity. And that should be public.
It should. It really should. I don't care what the judge says. Release everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you should fight for that. Dear Americans, you should fight for disclosing that. Yeah. Where are you?
11.
Okay.
Everyone charged with a penal offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, according to law, in a public trial at which he has had all guarantees necessary for his defense. No one shall be held guilty of penal offense on account of any act or omission which did not constitute a penal offense under national or international law at the time when it was committed, nor shall a heavier penalty be imposed than the one that was applicable at the time the penal offense was committed. So yeah, that's basically word for word how our amendments are. You're innocent until proven guilty, and nothing outside of what is submitted for trial
Yeah. And
can be
if the
used
thing
against you.
wasn't, yeah, and if the thing you did wasn't criminal at the time you did it, it's not a crime. You can't retroactively call things in the past crimes. Socialists want to do that. And they do, as we know from all that digging up tweets you made in the past.
Oh yeah. How many articles? There are 30 articles.
Yeah, you should have. People should read this. Because it's a quick read, by the way, and it's very simple text.
As
These are
all
your
laws
rights
be.
as an individual on this planet.
All laws should be in simple text and not use the gobbledygook that they use these days.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the time, old laws were written in plain text
Mm-hmm.
and very simple.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can tell you stories about that.
No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attack upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to protection of the law against such interference or attacks. Where is this for the where is this for the people who get people canceled on Twitter? Because that is a violation of their privacy and family, home, and correspondence. Because
Yeah,
a lot of them get doxxed.
yeah. And then their families threatened. Socialism does this. Socialism is in violation of Article 12. We should have made a list of how many articles they're in violation of already.
12.
They didn't violate all articles at this point, did they?
I want to say they do because it's just so detrimental to human life.
Mm-hmm.
Article 13. Everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within borders of each state. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country. Hey, that beer disease prevented this.
Anyway. However, number 1 can be easily misinterpreted as that borders already don't matter anymore. You can just immigrate anywhere. That is not what this means.
No,
Freedom.
You're allowed to move between states freely or move to the states if you have the means to. And if they require you to immigrate into the state, such as how they immigrate into countries, then you have to pay to immigrate.
Yeah, so Article 13 is a good example of something important, and that is when the Human Rights Charter was written, the Soviets were allowed to take part in it. That is why this article is written the way it is, because they seek to infiltrate everywhere, and why freedom of speech is not as good as it should be in the Declaration of Human Rights. So the thing isn't perfect. We have to admit that. But Article 13 basically means that you are not to be impaired and imprisoned within your own country.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main intent of it. When a country says we don't want you, it is perfectly the perfect right of that country to say so. 14.
Everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from protection or persecution. Not from protection, from persecution. This right.
Can you read that again, please?
Everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution.
Yes.
This right may not be invoked in the case of prosecutions genuinely arising from non-political crimes or from acts contrary to the purpose and principles of the United Nations.
So, aside from the last part, because that is something for a larger debate, this basically means you can ask for asylum, doesn't mean you'll get it. And if you are persecuted because you killed and raped, you do not deserve asylum. You are not a refugee. Yet Germany treats a lot of exactly those types as that, and even lets them walk free. Because, they just don't understand our culture. And those are lines from German judges. It's horrible.
Article 15. Everyone has the right to a nationality.
Ooh. Germans are allowed to be German. Ooh.
Americans are allowed to be American.
Ooh.
No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality, nor denied the right to change his nationality. So if you want to move countries and to a different nation altogether, you have the right to do so. And you cannot be deprived of being what you are.
Yes. So no borders, no nation is against the Charter of Human Rights. because it tries to take away a nationality. What the EU is trying to do is against the Charter of Human Rights, because it tries to take away the nationalities of everyone within its confines. And that you're free to change it is also meant that you can leave yours behind to seek a new one. It doesn't mean that you are entitled to get the nationality that you want without any hurdles.
Yeah.
Because a country can simply say, we don't want you. Otherwise, a million socialists could just move to another country, elect a socialist president there, and then move to the next country. That's bullshit. So that is not allowed under this. It's just badly worded. And of course, people couldn't foresee many things that we now know they do, because they found loopholes in the wordings. And this is something that at some point needs to be addressed and closed. But the process for documents like this takes centuries, because you can't just arbitrarily change them. When you start doing that, the socialists, for example, other tyrants as well, will stand right at the door and want to make the next change, and the next change, and the next change, and the next change. That's why it's very, very difficult to do these things.
Yeah. And we gotta speed up a little bit because I got about
I know.
17 minutes. Men and women of full age without any limitation due to race, nationality, or religion have the right to marry and to found a family. They are entitled to equal rights as to marriage, during marriage, and at its dissolution. Marriage shall be entered into only with the free and full consent of the intending spouses. The family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state.
Is socialism in violation of this?
Yes, because they don't want you to have families.
Yes, it also means child marriages are against human rights, because children cannot make this kind of consent. Yet Germany allows it.
And it also says here full age.
Yes, Germany is in violation of this for allowing child marriages that come into Germany to be treated as legal by the law. You can't child marry in Germany, but they will treat your child marriage as well, not constitutional, but they will allow it. And that should not be the case. This is child abuse. And end of story.
Ooh, this one violates. This one's in violation under socialism, communism, what have you. Everyone has the right to own property alone as well as in association with others. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property.
Yes, Article 17 is the most obvious article of human rights that socialism is in opposition of, because it is openly stating its opposition. And what happened in Berlin? Oh my God, that was criminal. That was arbitrary.
You can't take people's property away. Just
Property
because...
is a human right. End of story. Socialists are opposed to human rights in sneaky ways and in very obviously stated ways.
Article 18. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others and in public or private to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. We have freedom of thought.
Yeah. Well,
And
thought is not
religion.
yet speech, but it's the beginning of it. It's the foundation of it.
Mm-hmm.
The freedom of ideas.
Yes.
Which socialism doesn't really like.
No, because you're supposed to only have one religion. Well, you have the right to a religion, just one religion, and that religion is the state.
Yeah, and you know, the term wrongthink exists for a reason.
Yep.
So if there is wrongthink, that already means there is a violation of Article 18. if such a term can be applied to anything. Wrongthink is essentially whatever is not in accordance to the dogma. Anyway,
Article 19. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers.
that's a nice freedom of speech thing, isn't it?
Yes.
And a
Oh,
nice freedom of information gathering.
I have the freedom to hold my own opinions without interference.
Yeah.
Twitter, fix it.
Yeah. There's this whole, you can you can express opinions, but you should be aware of the consequences. Haha. If anybody says that, refer them to Article 19.
Through any
You are in violation of human rights.
Article 20. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. No one may be compelled to belong to an association.
Ooh.
And that's another
If you
one
are
that
for
they don't
equality, you are a feminist.
like. Or I'm just, for equality.
You have to be for Black Lives Matter or you're a fascist. It goes down the line.
Oh, yes. Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country directly or through freely chosen representatives. Everyone has the right to of equal access to public service in his country. The will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. This will shall be expressed in periodic and genuine elections, which shall be by universal and equal suffrage, and shall be held by secret vote or by equivalent vote or free voting procedures.
Yes.
No one gets to know what you voted.
Yes, that is important. That is something I don't know why the United States doesn't even practice. And that is why the chasms between the parties always get bigger, because you don't keep your party affiliation secret.
Yeah.
And what you vote for. And while in Germany, before the recent years, we only try to discuss issues instead of saying for whom we vote. And because that's just expressing what team you belong to. However, with Article 21, we could not implement a voting law similar to what Heinlein proposed, for example, because Article 21 demands universal suffrage. So if we wanted to be in accordance to that, we would need to find other ways to improve democracy.
Yes.
22.
22. Everyone as a member of society has the right to Social Security and is entitled to realization through national effort and international cooperation and in accordance with the organization and resources of each state of the economic, social, and cultural rights indispensable for his dignity and the free development of his personality.
Yeah, so you could distill this to you're not to be deposed as trash just because you're not functioning right anymore. We can read this a little more critically, but that, like the article before that I mentioned, requires more in-depth discussion. Because some of these you can interpret also for the other side of bad. This is one of them that can go haywire. Because with this you could justify the you could try to justify UBI or something, or at least try it. But anyway.
23. Everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, and to just and favorable conditions of work, and the protection against unemployment. Everyone, without any discrimination, has the right to equal pay for equal work. Uh, mm,
For equal work, if you do the same for the same time with the same quality, you should get
yeah,
paid at least the same.
equal quality, yeah.
Hmm.
Everyone who works has the right to just and favorable
Remuneration.
remuneration, ensuring for
Oh, that's my
himself
telephone.
and his family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection. Everyone has the right to form and to join trade unions for the protection of his interests. Wisp, you there? Oh, on the phone. Uh, yeah. This is you should be able to work wherever you want to work as long as you have the capability to work there. It not being told where to work. So that's another one that socialism doesn't like. Everyone has the right to rest and leisure, including reasonable limitation of working hours and periodic holidays with pay. Yeah, that if you're on holiday, such as for America, we just had Thanksgiving. There's a lot of mom and pop shops that have the holiday off, including Black Friday, just so that way you have more time with your family and you get paid for those days. And we have it to where that the reasonable limitation of working hours is 40 hours a week for full time, 28 for part time.
Sorry for that. I had to take a call.
It's all right.
Where were you? What
Uh,
did you find something?
oh, that this one, the right to work and free choice of employment,
Hmm.
uh, goes against socialism
How?
because in socialism they tell you where to work.
That is
You
true.
where here you have the free choice to choose where you work,
That is true.
and then this one, the right to rest and leisure, including limitations of working hours and periodic holidays with pay. That we already do that, especially mom and pop shops in the U.S. And in the U.S., we are limited to 40 hours uh, for standard jobs. Not saying that union jobs usually work about 80 hours a week.
Hmm. That's a bit much. But
It
that's
it is.
self-employment for you. Self-employment is always like that. In self-employment, you have to regulate your work hours.
Well,
You are in charge of your work hours.
unions usually are working around the clock and have 12-hour shifts.
Unions tend to be scams. The idea
Ten,
is good, but there's probably 0.1% of unions working the way it's advertised. The others are just socialist props.
Green grounds.
Yes.
Article 25. Everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care, and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, or other lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond his control. Motherhood and childhood are entitled to special care and assistance. All children, whether born in or out of wedlock, shall enjoy the same social protection.
Yes. This does not mean that because you are an entitled queen with abundance of makeup and jewelry that you have to be um, supported to sustain that kind of living standard. That is not what is meant. It means basic. 26.
Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit.
Ooh.
Ooh, I like that last part.
Ooh. Ooh. Look, look. Affirmative action is against human rights.
Yes, it is, and
Social
that's why a lot of
justice is
people are
against
against it.
human rights. They would say the
And
Human Rights Charter is white supremacy because it talks about merit.
education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. I don't
The
like that
last
one.
part is yeah. The last part is it sounds a bit like indoctrination and propaganda.
Yeah. Parents have prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children.
Ooh.
Freedom of so school choice is a fundamental right that we shall be looking forward to.
Mm-hmm. And we're almost done.
Article 27. Everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. Everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. So you're allowed to participate in the culture of your nation and the community that you're a part of.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
clear cut.
you could say basic copyright ideas, but not the way that are depicted in law where they're broken. But that you
Yeah.
have a because there's a difference between copyright and creator right. This is creator right.
Yeah. 28. Everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized.
It is basically fluff.
Yeah.
This is basically an unnecessary line.
Article 29. Everyone has duties to the community in which alone the free and full development of his personality is possible. In the exercise of his rights and freedoms, everyone shall be subject only to such limitations as are determined by law solely for the purpose of securing due recognition and respect for the rights and freedoms of others and of meeting the just requirements of morality, public order, and the general welfare in a democratic society. But what if I don't want a democratic society and I want a republic?
Can I have a democratic republic?
Sort of.
Oh, yeah. So as I said, the document isn't perfect, but
Uh,
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
these rights and freedoms may in no case be exercised contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. Another line that doesn't really need to be there.
Yeah, and that is also a bad line. This is a backdoor through which the United Nations they can just change their purposes and the principles, and then this whole thing falls apart. And we have to remember this was written during the time when democracy was modern democracy was quite a new thing and was the awesome new way to go. So it's pushing for that. And the big flaws of democracy we've only learned throughout the last century. And we're still learning more flaws right now that we are becoming more aware of and are getting ideas on how to treat them.
Yeah, I've noticed more and more flaws as things have progressed, and we're at the final article. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. So no state, group, or person can engage in taking away the rights of others and freedoms.
Yeah, it's differently phrased in other languages. For example, in German, we have we also use this in our constitution, but it's never really used because it's hard to prove that you are not to use these rights in order to undermine them, in order to get rid of them. That is the one time when you lose these rights.
Yeah.
That is basically the one exception, and it is a necessary exception.
And I also put this in the description, the link.
Oh, come on.
I think it's a good time to close out then. And Wisp is on the phone again. But it's good to go over what the basic human rights that we have are and the basic freedoms that we have and just how it is degrading over time, especially with the boom of social media and the tyranny of governments around the world within the past 2 years alone. And for those of you that don't believe we are living under tyranny, please look into what your governments are doing and what they're doing to the people, and then look at the basic human rights that we've just discussed and see that what they are doing is completely wrong for the people and against the freedoms and rights of the people. With that, I'm going to wait for Whis to come back before saying goodbye. So I am going to also see if I can find the basic 13 human rights and put those in the description as well. Basic human. Or, nope, it's now 30, up from 13. So that one is. Oh no. That's a topic for another day. Oh man. I was not expecting to see that. So if anybody that knows about the Shinigami Eye application, there is a website whenever you look up human rights that is marked as anti-trans somehow. But we'll get into that another day. I'm probably going to close out here. Wisp is still on the phone, and I've got to head out. So I will see y'all later.